Hello YouTube, and welcome to another video. In this video tutorial, I'm going to do a to-do list, but in this case I'm going to use I'm going to use Node, Express, and Mongodb. A to-do list, I think, is the perfect application for learning a new framework. In this case, we are going to use Node, Express, and Mongodb. To-do list is actually a very simple application. The functionality is not that difficult, and so we have more time to focus on how to make it work with Node, Express, and MongoDB. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do, by the way, I assume that you have Node installed. If you want to follow along, I already have Node installed. So I'm going to head over I'm going to head over the file manager. By the way, I'm doing this in Ubuntu. This is Linux. The command for Windows, it shouldn't be that different, especially the ones run in the terminal. Most is commands related to Node, so it shouldn't be that different. I have a directory that I created for my project, and I call it todo node-node, and I have this index.html page, which is the page that you see right here in the background. I did it using Bootstrap, and so I'm going to open a terminal right here inside my directory, and I'm going to initialize my project. So I'm going to say, let me get more space here, and I'm going to say npm init, and this is going to give me the wizard for to create the package.json. So I'm going to accept most of the defaults. Package name, I'm going to leave it as to-do node. Version 1.0. Description, I'm going to call it to-do list with Node, Express, and MongoDB. Going to press enter. At the entry point, I'm going to change it to app.js. Test command none, if repository none, keywords, author, I'm going to write my name, George Lewis, enter, and is this okay? Yes. And so the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a file called app.js. So I'm going to say touch app.js. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to open that file inside Sublime. I have Sublime here open, so I'm going to drag the file, and I'm going to open it in Sublime. And so this is what I'm going to, in app.js, this is what I'm going to write my routes, mostly Express. So Express is the first package that I need. So I'm going to type npm install Express, and to save it, to make it permanent, I'm going to do --save. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to let that finish. Okay, so it is installed. Now I'm going to head over to my app.js, which is going to be the entry point for my application, and I'm going to say var express equals require express. Next I'm going to say var app equals express. I'm going to instantiate the express object. And next I'm going to write my route. So I'm going to write a comment here, say express routes here. And the first route that I'm going to write is going to be my default route, my root route. So I'm going to say app.get backslash or forward slash, which is going to be the default route, and followed by function request response, and to test that my application is working, I'm going to say response.send, and I'm going to enter an h1 tag that says hello world. Somewhere down here I'm going to write my server, my listening server, so I'm going to say server listening on port 3000. So I'm going to say app.listen 3000 function console log. I want to output some sort of message to the console saying that the server has started. So I'm going to say server started on port 3000. And let's test our application. Of course, I'm going to save it first by pressing Ctrl S. And next I'm going to head over to my console and I'm going to say node app.js, press enter, and it says server started on port 3000. I'm going to refresh my page and I should be getting a actually I have to go to localhost 3000, and I should be getting hello world printed out to my page. So that means that I'm going to head over to console, and that says favicon not found. That's because it tried to refresh the page. I'm going to clear that, and this time we didn't get any errors. So our application what we have written so far, it's it's working. So we need to, for example, if I go to another route that is not my default route, and that route is not being cached in my application, I'm going to get an error. So I'm going to write a catch all route. So I'm going to say catch all other routes, and I'm going to say app.get, and I'm going to use a actually I'm going to use an asterisk. And I'm going to function request response, and I'm going to say rest.send h1 invalid route or invalid page. And let's try that. Let's save that, stop and restart, and refresh the page. An invalid page. Okay, so if we do, let's say, another route 1, we should be getting the invalid page again, and that other route seems to be working. So next I'm going to change my default route so that instead of displaying hello world, I can display my index.html page, the page that we saw at the beginning. So how can I do that? Well, the first thing I'm going to do, actually I need to install another package. I'm going to head over to the terminal, and I'm going to start Node, and I'm going to install a package called EJS, which stands for Embedded JavaScript. So I'm going to say npm install EJS save. I'm going to press enter. Next I'm going to head back into my project directory, and I'm going to create another directory. This one is going to be called views, and I'm going to rename my index.html I'm going to rename it to index.ejs, and I'm going to move it inside the views directory. Make sure it's there. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go back into my app.js, and I'm going to say app.set view engine, EJS. That's the two parameters, and this is going to allow me to interact with EJS and display embedded JavaScript files into my application. So instead of REST send, I'm going to change this, and I'm going to say REST render, the name of my EJS web page, which is index.ejs, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to restart. Node, and I'm going to refresh the page, and we should be getting our index.ejs page. Now it's when we get to start writing the functionality of our app. So to-do list basically contains a list of things to do. So the next step is going to be to create an array. So I'm going to call this one to-do list, and I'm going to set it to an empty array. Actually, I'm going to write a couple of to-do items inside my array. So the first one is going to be wash the car and change oil. Next is going to be do laundry, or actually buy groceries and make dinner. Okay, so that's going to be my two items that I want for my to-do list. And so how can I display these two to-do lists down here? So I'm going to and so next I'm going to head back into my directory, and I'm going to open the index.ejs in Sublime. If I can drag here, okay, here we go. And I'm going to embed some JavaScript inside my EJS file. So I'm going to, before writing my template, I'm going to write plain JavaScript. So what I want to do actually, it is to be able to pass this array to my index.ejs file and display, loop through the array. So I'm going to say for var I equals 0, I minus, the name of the array is to-do list. I'm going to say to-do list.length I++, and I'm going to open curly braces, and I'm going to say to-do list, open and closing brackets, and I as the index, and that is going to be it. Actually, but because I want to display this to every single to-do list within this unorder list, I want to put them inside li tags, which is for list item, and I'm going to close that. So now, in order to create a template or embed JavaScript code inside EJS file, we need to use these placeholders in every single line, which is the less than symbol followed by percentage sign, and we need to close that with the same placeholders, and we need to do the same thing here. but notice that here I'm going to use also an equal sign, and the reason why is because whenever we're using some JavaScript that is returning a value, we need to use the equal sign. So notice that we're not using equal sign here, but I'm using it here because this JavaScript code is returning a value, and that's why. So I'm going to also use it here on my closing curly braces, and that should be enough. I'm going to save my file. I'm going to head back into the app.ejs file. I'm going to paste it here. On this, there we go. And I believe I had a H1 tag here. That's set invalid page, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to stop and restart Node, and I'm going to refresh the page one more time, and now it works. We have the two to-do list items. The next step is to add the submit button functionality. So every time we enter something, we submit it, it should be showing down here in the list. What I did, I'm going to head back into my index.ejs page. And what I did in my form, especially in my input field, I added a value parameter, and I enter a value. That's why you already see this is a new to-do list item. It's already populated just for testing purposes, so I don't have to enter and write something and submit. So that is already entered. And so the next thing that I wanted to mention that I did in order to make the form work is that I added this name item parameter to my input field. So those are the two things. So I'm going to head back into app.js, and I'm going to add the route for my submit button. So I'm going to, before I do that, let's put a comment here that says default route, and I'm going to do it just right here. So I'm going to say submit button route, and I'm going to say app.post. Remember, it is going to be a post request. So the first parameter is going to be the name of my post request. So where do I get this? Where I get this from my index.ejs page. If I look at the form, the opening tag of the form, where it says method, it needs to be post. In the action, it is /new to do. So that's the name of my route. So I'm going to go back into app.js, and the first parameter is going to be /new to do. In the comma function, request that comma response, opening curly braces. So when when an item is sent through a post request, I'm going to send it to the console. I'm going to say console.log, and I'm going to say request that item submitted. And next I'm going to but before I do that, I need another package, because now I need to grab the value of my input field and add it into the array. And for that, we need a package called body-parser. So I'm going to head back into the console. I'm going to start Node, and I'm going to say npm install body-parser -- save and I'm going to press enter. Once that's done, I'm going to head back into the top of my app.js, and I'm going to say var body-parser, so we can parse data from the EJS page. So I'm going to say require body-parser. Next, I'm going to enter another line down here that says app.use body-parser.url encoded extended column through. And that is pretty much everything that I need to declare in order to use body-parser. So I'm going to head back into my post route, and I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call this variable, let's see, item. And I'm going to set it equal to request.body.item. Actually, I'm missing the R here. Okay, here we go. So I'm using the request object that has a property body and then also has a property item, which is pretty much this input field with the name of item. So that's how I'm getting the value inside the input field. And the next step, I'm going to add that item into my to-do list array. So I'm going to say to-do list dot push item. And finally, what I want to do, I want to send I want to redirect the application into the default route. So this page is rendered once again with all the new to-do items. So I'm going to say rest.render, actually redirect, I'm sorry. And I'm going to send it to the default route. And that should be it. So let's save it. I'm going to restart Node. And I have an error. Alright, so it says body parser is not defined. So I'm going to body parser is here, and I define body parser here. Okay, so I see what's going on. Body parser. I'm going to save it. Going to restart. My application, refresh page, and let's submit a to-do list. Let's see what happens. And here we go. We have a new to-do list. Submit another one. Submit another one. Submit another one. And that's how we achieve the post route for the submit button. But everything is fine, except our changes are not permanent. If we stop the application and we restart, all the changes are gone. And the next step will be to add these items into our Mongodb database. Okay, so I decided to make the second part of this to this tutorial because this one is getting a little bit too long, and I think it'll be better to divide it in two sections or two parts. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you want to support my work and support the channel, please remember to subscribe, and thanks for watching.